I'm going to go ahead and just get us started so we're staying on schedule here. This presentation, or actually this panel, is called Beyond the Book, Trademarks, Copyrights, International Media, Translation, Licensing. It's a lot to cover. We may not cover it all. We obviously are going to want to hear a lot about what you want to hear about. So we'll definitely make sure there's time for questions at the end. But first, I'm going to let our panelists, if I can get the slides to start working. Happens every time. There we go. All right, so we'll let the panelists, did you turn that on?
I don't know how to do it.
Yep. Gotten very sufficient.
Yes.
We'll just have you guys go down the line and explain who you are and why you think we invited you to be on this panel. It is on. It was working.
Does it? Hello?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll check. Just speak loudly, and I'll get someone with the sound system just so that we can get.
Yeah.
It turned on, but it doesn't seem to have any amplification.
All right, well, I guess we'll just introduce ourselves loudly, right? Yeah.
More incentive to move closer.
So I'm Cynthia Sherry. I'm the publisher for Chicago Review Press and Client Books here in Chicago. We publish about 65 new titles a year under Chicago Review Press, about 100 titles to Client Books. And we publish on a wide range of topics. We do children's books, we do history, we do travel, music, film, popular science, and then a lot of sports books under Triumph Books, and entertainment and pop culture. So just kind of a wide variety of subjects. I've been in the business. I've been working for Chicago Review Press for 27 years. So I've been selling sub-rights and licensing stuff for all these years and giving contracts. So I have quite a bit of experience selling film, selling audio, selling translation rights, primarily, and permissions.
I'm Elizabeth North, and I am the publisher at Dreamspinner Press. Dreamspinner Press does between 250 and 300 titles a year. We are a genre press. We do a focus on the LGBT main characters. And so we have romance, mystery, suspense, sci-fi, fantasy, and then we also have a really active teen line for Harmony Press. We've seen incredible growth in both audio and foreign markets. At this point, our titles are translated into 19 different languages. So that's kind of what I'm bringing to the conversation.
My name is Kevin Bryman, DVP and publisher of We've been around for 150 years. So probably,
But not you.
Back 3 times. We are probably one of the largest review mediums for books in the States. I'm not sure worldwide, but I can't vouch for that. We're a weekly publication. We have 5 newsletters. We have a very robust consumer website. This year, I'm very interested in rights. We launched the New York Rights Fair at the same time as Book Expo. And the reason why we launched it with our partners, Book Expo and Bologna Fier, which has a large children's rights business in Italy. We felt there was a need to do a rights fair in New York, because there's a lot of business that's being conducted in New York. And my reason for actually participating in the rights fair is about content. It's about the book, but the book is just a piece of content. The content that you have, how you take your content and parlay it to other areas of opportunities besides just selling books. Whether it's audio books, whether it's, you see what's going on now with Netflix and all the streaming videos out there. So you are on a wealth of great information with your books, but how do you take that information or that content and parlay it to other businesses like audio books, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one of the reasons why we launched New York Rights Fair. I don't know if the industry needs a fair, but we decided that we could take a gamble on it because our research comes back to businesses probably in New York or in the States about rights licensing. So that's why we launched the Rights Fair. I know IPG is participating in the Rights Fair, and we have 3 days of great programming about content and how you take content to different areas of business. We're going to focus on books, a small part, but I think you can do with your business by growing in other areas.
We don't have any sound in these mics here. Yeah.
So where do you want to start with that?
Yes, so we've got 6 prepared questions, and then we want to make sure that we have time to get to everyone's questions here, because I feel like it'll be I'm sure you all have different reasons for being here. Would that work?
Yeah. Hello?
Perfect, yay! All right, so the very first question is, what are the sub-rights publishers what are the sub-rights that publishers should be focused on, and how should they go about selling them? I guess that's 2 questions, but answer what you will of those.
We actually were talking earlier about the fact that we have almost the 2 ends of the spectrum on this, which is really good for you guys, because we're a smaller publisher, we're a very niche publisher. So it's very easy for us to connect with publishers in other countries that are doing our content, because they're easy to identify. You have a really broad contract, it takes a different step for that. So we've actually been very successful. We have worked through agencies. We do attend broadly rights fairs. We're always in Frankfurt. We're always at BEMA. That's really important, even if you're not exhibiting, to be attending and visiting and networking, and in Frankfurt every year, in Paris every year. We know the vendors that are there, and we start those conversations. And we've been able to create several partnerships directly with publishers that have been very beneficial for them and for us. So we sub-license in that way. We also end up with rights deals where we actually are doing internal translations, but then we're selling territorial rights. We have done a lot of our Spanish translations where territorial rights for South America or Latin America have been purchased from us for book production. So we do very hands-on, where we're doing it very directly, where we are seeking, we run our own foreign rights newsletter, we make those contacts with people, we keep them updated on what's new and what's coming out. We occasionally do articles on what we've seen hit in a similar market. And we do it very hands-on, as opposed to kind of having an agency that handles everything for us.
Yeah. So I think with a list like Elizabeth's, where it's very focused, that's probably the most cost-effective way to go about it, because you can identify those publishers in other countries. Chicago Review Press, we used to sell directly ourselves for a lot of years. It turned out to be quite the number of titles we published an administrative task. And so about 3 years ago, I started working with an agency in New York, the Susan Schulman Literary Agency, and she handles my translation of other books, my favorites. And we kind of work hand in hand. And she's hooked us up with about a dozen co-agents around the world. So when we did this directly ourselves, we worked with individual publishers. And it ended up being quite lopsided, because I would find that I would go to a show like the London Book Fair or the Frankfurt Book Fair, and I'd have like a long list of Korean publishers that I worked with, or have 1 or 2 Spanish publishers in one particular area. And so I just had a lot of holes in my foreign rights selling. Now with these co-agents that we use around the world, we just cover a lot more ground, doubled our sales. It seems to be really working pretty well for us. So we use the agency to do translations, sell foreign translations. We also sell we have world English rights in our contract, so we sell UK rights as well, which can be lucrative in terms of also selling files. We sell our interior art files, we do these deals, we sell our cover files. And we do quite a bit with audio. Audio has been a huge growth market, and so we're selling about half of our frontline titles every season for audio, and working through this agency.
Summarize. I'm curious, how many people here in this room are involved in selling rights? You're missing an opportunity if you're not selling your rights. What I mean by rights is there's primary rights and there's secondary rights. It's really, you need to kind of educate yourself because I think that's hanging fruit that you're not taking advantage of. We're all focused here the last 2 days on book selling and books into the market and working with Amazon. But I think you're missing a huge opportunity to sell your content. That's why I call it content. And I would suggest if you're not experienced selling rights, that you find the rights firm, that an agent that's going to work with you, because it is very expensive to go to Frankfurt, you go to Bologna, or go to London, because everything is appointment by appointment by appointment. So I think IPG has the rights agents they work with, but I think that's something you should find out and understand what rights is. There's primary rights, such as you give up world rights to yourself, you give up, the author gives up your rights to you to sell it, or they obtain, whether it's film rights, audio rights. So you have to really figure out with the author what they want to give up. A lot of authors not realizing that they want to retain their rights and not give it up because they realize it's a way to supplement or offset their royalties when they sign up with a publisher. When hands you trying to think about how you can sell your rights in different avenues, and some rights you don't want to give up. So it might be want to be in audio, but you might not want to be in film. So it all depends on you want to work with agents on book clubs, etc., etc. So it's really what your mindset is, your objective is. Like we don't sell rights, but we license all our content out to partners. It's a big revenue stream to us, which falls 99% to the bottom line. So it's another way to supplement your publishing program.
Definitely. I would say we really started focusing on looking at, and content's a good word for it, looking at each one of the manuscripts that we brought in. Our work is all up front in this, right? We create a cover for it, we do the editorial process, we work with the authors, we create this platform, we create this wonderfully presentable piece of fiction for us. But it doesn't have to stop there. When you're talking about doing sub-licensed rights with either through an agency or directly, that falls on that publisher. You get the checks at the end of it. I mean, there is a huge payoff to the publisher. You've already done the work on this. You've established the title. You've gotten all your continuity down. Your effort in this is there. It's kind of like the director of the play, where you can sit back and watch the play when it actually goes on. These are ways you can monetize the investment you've put in this title, and you really need to take advantage of as many of them as possible. And be open to the idea that rights are constantly changing. There was a big kerfluffle when ebooks really took off because a whole lot of contracts hadn't included ebook rights. And so you want to be aware of what is up and coming and what rights should you be outlining in your contracts with your authors. We started in 2006 and all of our contracts included ebook and audiobook rights. I have 5,000 backlist titles that at any given time I can say, this author is doing really well. I can go back and put all those books in audio because I already own the rights to them.
And just to tack onto that, if you don't have those rights, you can go out and get an amendment to your contract. And that's what we did with ebooks. When ebooks came around, we didn't have that in our contract. We quickly went and sent around, amendments, got our authors to sign amendments to these ebook rights. So if you don't have audio, for example, or translation, a lot of authors are going to be happy to add that on. They can be active selling those. And that's, I guess, a point to make is really starts with your contract. You really want to make sure that your contract gives you all these rights. That you've got the world English, you've got the translation, you've got
the territories.
Yeah, and the territories. Yeah. So just having the most open-ended rights availability in your contract and understanding what's in your contract.
You can also set your terms of your rights contract. It doesn't mean you have to go rights up for 10 years. You can set the terms. You want it for 6 months, you want it only for 10,000 print run, whatever it is. So you kind of dictate your reach into the rights market. Just obtain those rights so you can sell them from your author.
One other thing too, I just want to add, the way I look at ebooks and audiobook rights, I consider them another format. So, I'm talking with authors and agents. I really demand that I get those because I want them out there simultaneously in my print edition, my ebook edition, my audiobook edition. And so really think of it as another format. And then when you're securing permission for your cover art or your interior illustrations, make sure that stuff is a work for hire so that you can then go ahead and license it. And then, same thing, you have that to resell that stuff.
And speaking of the simultaneous release, that works with worldwide rights as well, especially in some of the markets like German, where a high percentage of their population reads in English. The German publishers know that the German edition will do better if they get it out as close to the English release as possible, because otherwise somebody who really wanted to read that book has already read it in English. And then the German sales go down, and so they know that. And so it's not a matter of, let's put this book out in English, now let's think about rights. It's more, you're putting this out, and you need to be thinking about rights at the same time you're thinking about your release into the English market.
All right. Great answers, everyone. I loved it. Should publishers sell sub-rights themselves or hire an agent to sell their rights? We've kind of discussed this already, so we're just going to move along. It depends.
It depends on your catalog, and it depends on how many titles you have. I think it also depends a lot on what you're looking for. I will say 20% of our rights are handled through agencies, and in those cases, the amount the agency takes is well worth it. So it's not so much a part of not wanting to share profits with an agency. Agencies, especially in rights, work really, really hard at what they do. And they will get you places that you've not been before.
Yeah, I would think if you're just starting out, working with an agent could be a nice way to do it, because you probably already have your hands full with other things to do. And then as you start to get comfortable with it, you might decide to branch out and do it. And again, back to the list. If you're doing martial arts books, you're going to be able to, for example, identify the martial arts publishers in the various countries. But if you've got a larger list or a more diverse list or not enough time, you probably want to go with the agent.
Yeah, why not? Go for it.
The agents that you work with, do they have exclusive rights for the territories, or have you given them non-exclusive? Sorry, have you given them exclusive rights for the territories? I think anytime you're dealing with rights, you want to go exclusive, because you don't want to have two people with your opposite.
No, I agree.
Because you just don't want to get confused. You don't want your author selling rights and you selling rights. You don't want the agent selling rights and you selling rights. It just becomes confusing. And you could run into a situation where you both sold rights to the same country. And they're different stages of the deal.
Can I ask an information question? Because when I first thought you were talking about rights, I was thinking about the rights to publish your book in another language. But you're not just talking about that.
That's one of the things.
That's one of the rights.
When I answered the question, yes, I give permission to have our book published in another language in another country exclusively to that. And but there's other territory rights that you introduced into this subject.
For instance, we typically do worldwide on all our rights just because it is a worldwide market now, and it's much harder to control territorial rights. But there are some countries and some places that are still very much in territorial, for instance, our romances. Indonesia, Korea have very strict age limits on who can buy romances.
Are you talking about putting it in that language?
Yes, no, so Korean language rights for the territory of Korea, we have licensed that exclusively to a Korean publisher. But we actually have worldwide rights other than Korea, even in the Korean language. So there are sometimes places where you would split it for a very specific reason.
Another example of that is Spanish language. You can sell worldwide Spanish language rights to a publisher, and then they can distribute it Spanish language in other places. Or you might decide, I'm going to sell, I'll limit the territory, so I'll sell Spanish rights for Spain, and then I'll go and sell Spanish rights for Mexico and elsewhere.
To keep the U.S. rights for Spanish.
Oh, yes, and in some cases, there's IBG, for example, distributed.
So it's kind of a double layer thing. We are talking about foreign language rights,
Okay.
but it is the issue of the language, and then it is also the issue of the territory. When you deal with rights, you have to deal with both pieces of it.
Oh, hang on just one moment. Let me get you the microphone.
I published in Spain,
Mm-hmm.
in Galicia. In Spain, I have 3 languages. One language, principal language is Spanish, and there's 3 minority languages, Galician, Catalan, and Euskera.
Right.
When I served the contract of my family's father,
No, very good.
and by the rights of the different languages, and I buy the English languages in Spain. It's always in the contract specific of the territorial and limit of the first edition. Yes, it's very important. And because the other countries, for example, China, Korea, you have the control of the president. And I confidence of the prime, okay, good, 1,000 copies. It's I suppose is real, but not control. In Spanish, it's very rigorous as information. The certificate of the for implanting because the publisher is very regulation of the state, the Spanish country, the controllers. And it's please, it's a good literature, and it's English and American also. It's very important for Spanish in Spain. Booksellers, the Planeta, HarperCollins, the other publisher, the big publisher, is a lot of relation in Spanish in Spain. It's different Spanish of Mexico or Colombia, because I studied in Spanish and the other countries, South America. It's a very difficult because the languages is different. Okay? It's my recommendation.
Should we move on to the next question, which is a fun one? Are there any pitfalls that publishers should be aware of when selling rights, whether audio, film, or translation? Any pitfalls that have
Non-specific language. Anytime you're dealing with a contract, you want to make sure it's as specific. You can't be too specific. I mean, you really want really specific outlines of what it is you're licensing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, pitfalls have been, not have necessarily, make sure that you have the rights that you're licensing. That's been very key. You might find, they want the interior illustrations and you don't have the rights to those. So it's really important that everything's work for hire and you've got that all clear, you know what the right situation is. And at least you can explain that to them, I've got the rights for all these photographs except, these 4, and they might be able to clear that themselves. Having a term in your contract, I mean, we created our own sub-rights contract that we use, so this is a good sub-rights contract, and we have them sign our contract. I think that's really important. And there were some old contracts from way back when, before my time, that didn't have terms. So, limiting it to 5 to 7 years is very difficult.
You also have a lot of accounting issues when you sell your rights. You have taxes from different countries that you sell into. So when you do your contract, make sure that it's vetted, and also make sure that you are fulfilling the tax requirements, because you don't really want to come back and catch you at the end. So I would think about more emphasis on the contract, the legal aspect of it, and also the tax issues that you have.
All right. How are subrights deals typically structured? We kind of covered some of that.
Just talking about that a little bit beforehand, right? You want to talk about
Yeah, we did. Well, I don't know, maybe we should talk about what's common
Yeah,
first
yeah.
and then throw that in. So why don't you talk about what's common first?
Yeah, so very typically, if you're doing, and this is gonna be the same for like translation, audio, films are a little bit different, but, you're gonna have an advance against royalties. Just like with your author contracts, we're gonna pay you a rate, a royalty rate. You try to get, it's usually between 5 and 10% list or net, often you're gonna try to get list. And when we calculate like what that advance should be, we're typically looking at what we might earn from the whole first print run. So we'll ask the foreign publisher, what list price they're going to put on the book, how many they're going to print as a first print run, and then we'll convert that currency and figure out like what would be the royalty earnings on the whole first print run. And then we ask for that as an advance. The idea being that we don't want to worry about having to get these royalty statements, which sometimes can be very delinquent with foreign publishers. So they're really structured very much like your author contracts. And the audiobook deals are pretty much the same. Sometimes the audiobook deals, the difference is there's a term, it's not for the whole copyright. 5 to 7 years is really typical. Some audiobook publishers might want a 10-year term. You have to decide whether that's going to work for you. But those are very standard.
Is there a standard for film rights?
Yeah, now film is a whole, I feel like it's almost like a large topic. I will say film is very exciting these days because there's it used to be you just go with the majors and the mini majors and you're doing major films. But now with the explosion of like Netflix and television and YouTube, right?
No, seriously,
Yeah.
For smaller publishers and smaller things, there's a lot of licensing going on for web-only series that are really catching a lot of interest.
So we're selling outer titles and we're looking at things like the History Channel and Netflix. So those deals are a little bit different. I mean, again, you're going to get a big, you're going to get, and usually they're structured on an option payment, and they'll go through there.
The piece that we were talking specifically about was I was telling her that in the last couple of years I've had really good luck with publishers negotiating to forego the advance for a higher percentage of the book sales. Sometimes kind of ridiculously so. I told her that I have several standing contracts with publishers right now where we really gloss over in advance, and sometimes as much as say 15% more of sales are coming to us because the first thing they're looking at is translation rights and what they're going to have to put into it. So it's an upfront cost. So not having to add a couple $1,000s to that to be able to pay us in advance is better for their cash flow piece. And a lot of them are willing to make that trade-off. And in certain languages, in smaller languages, I would entirely, smaller markets, I would entirely go with the advance. It just makes things easier. But in French and German and some of the Asian languages for us where we know we're going to get really good sales, even 5% difference in what we're getting over the terms of the contract is so much more than because an advance is an advance, right? You had to explain that to your authors. No, I wasn't just giving you that money. Now here's your report. Now that money's coming off, right? So an advance really isn't getting you any more money over the life of the contract. If you can forego the advance, it's not up front. You may have, and I told her this is with people we have a relationship with. I know I'm getting payments. I know I'm getting reports, but by saying no advance and getting a higher term, we actually are earning more money off that title.
Can I ask a question? How do you know that how do you verify their numbers? I mean, they can spend you any.
How do you verify Amazon's numbers?
But I mean, paying you per book sales. How do you really know that number is right?
You don't, but you don't at Amazon either.
You know how many books you gave them.
Well, okay. How about ebooks?
Sold in this case, right? You don't know how many.
Well, it's an honor system.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
You just want to work, so you're working with the.
I will tell you that the U.S. Trade Department, this is something I kind of backed into because we exhibit both in Germany and in France in conjunction with the U.S. Embassy. And I have discovered that there are many things available to U.S. business owners that I didn't know existed. If you contact your state-run U.S. Trade Department, they can actually run overseas business checks for you. It's $50. And it is really good money invested if you're getting ready to. Yeah, the U.S. Trade Department. They have an office in each one of the states. In some of the bigger states, they have more than one office. But it gives you a general background check and outstanding litigation. If the country has kind of their version of a Better Business Bureau, it tells you what the rankings are, you know. So at least at a minimum level check to know who you're getting into business with is not somebody who's known for running scams. It's money well spent.
And typical is like $1,000 or $2,000 advance. Is that typical?
I
mean, that's what I
It
think.
depends on the book, it depends on the country too, that was the other point I was gonna make. If you're dealing with, you know, like the UK or Germany or Japan, you're trying to make some higher advances. But you know, we'll do deals like a flat fee deal, so like a small country, you know, maybe $1,000 just flat fee.
You're just setting your price.
You're setting the
You're
price.
setting the
You
price.
are, you.
You're setting the price and the print money you want to offer, and the length of the rights contract.
Right.
And just like any contract, it can be negotiated.
All right, I'm going to keep going for now, and then we'll get to questions in a second. How important are international rights fairs? I'm just going to hand that over to Kevin.
It's a big part of the business instead of content, right? You can sit here and sell your books and you'll sell 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, sell your books. But that's the business you should be in, selling your rights. And how important it is, I think it's very important because you're working with international countries, you're working with China, you're working with Spain, you're working with Italy. Now, we launched New York Rights there, and we have a good amount of international companies who want to do business in the States. So how important, I think it's important is as Book Expo, it's important as AOA. It's just a part of your business, and that's where everybody congregates to sell rights. It's like going to a licensing show in Vegas. That's where licensing is being done at these trade shows. That's where everybody's merging in one area. They do business, they do networking, they do their thing. And how important is the rights fair? You got Bologna, you got Beijing, you got Shanghai, you got Bologna, you got Frankfurt, you got London. So obviously, it's an important stake in a publishing's lifespan. You know, if you think about it, you take the Hillary Clinton book or the Obama book, they spend millions and millions of dollars on it. They're not capturing that in sales back, is they're capturing is how many rights can they translate to other countries. And that's where they're making their money from. So when they go to auction, they're spending $50 million for Obama's book or, you know, other celebrity books or just books in general. They're betting on the they're going to sell. Those rights are probably sold way before the book is out in the market. So that's where they're really making their money. And that means going to Shanghai, going to London, Frankfurt, New York Rights Fair. It's just part of the business.
Unless you have an agent.
Well, yeah, I think in my personal opinion, in your stage of your publishing program now, you're best to farm it out to an agent. They have the contacts, agents have scouts who are scouting out to make appointments. It's all appointment based. And if you don't have those contacts, you're going to sit at a trade show and fumble your fingers all day. Why am I getting appointments? It's all appointment based. When you go to a rights fair, for instance, I just got back from Bologna, children's fair. They start 8 o'clock in the morning, they don't finish till 6 o'clock, and they got half an hour spots. They're doing 14 meetings a day. And they're all set up way before they get to Bologna. So in my
And cold calls on appointments don't work. Like people would go through the list and say, hey, can I meet with you?
So that's my take. I think your stage in your professional career in publishing, leave it to the professionals. You're leaving your distribution to IPG because you're focused on what you need to do to get that book out into the market, and then let that thing take off. If you look at Random House, they have acquisition areas, they have rights, people that, but they're working with agents like Trident, Writer's House. So it's a science, and that's where the money's being made because it's a lot of opportunities out there to make money.
One thing I'm gonna add to that, even with the agents and that sort of thing, and this is, I really think, incredibly important, is even if you have an agent that's setting up the appointments, you can frequently attend those. And once you start having partners, you wanna get face-to-face with those partners. Because just like being here, you can get face-to-face with people and develop a multi-year relationship where even if we only see each other at the IPG Summit each year, we see and we touch base and you trade. You know, a lot of publishing is still networking. And in many, many countries, many of the European countries, and definitely the Asian countries, it is relationship based. They want to know who they're doing business with. And if you were just a faceless American company, you're not going to really get into business. Okay. You know, I met our Korean partners actually in Frankfurt, but that was October. They contacted me in February, and they flew a 6-person team over from Korea to New York to meet again at BEA. We ended up signing an exclusive contract as publishing partners. But you know, we talk about adding on rights. That publisher decided that they wanted to do full graphic novels of some of the books that they had translated. And they paid for Asian artists to do full novel length graphic novels on these. But because of that relationship, I was able to then negotiate profit sharing to have access to those images and now have English, German, French versions of that are now ours. That wasn't something I ever would have thought to put in a contract. And so I had to go back and amend contracts to allow for this is not going to happen.
And it's kind of a semi-plug from your rights there, but it's not. Go to the website, your rights, look at the content, look at the programming. It'll kind of give you a flavor of where you should be headed. Again, I keep on harping on content because it is content. Look at book to film, look at the book to audio, look at book to Netflix. There's a lot of, and look at the plays in the area, look at your titles. It's maybe, you know, if you can show up, that's great, go to programming. But look at the speakers and the engagement, who they are, what they're doing, why they're looking for content. You got a good flavor of how important rights is to business.
And to just give a little like obvious plug, if you're based in the US, it's going to be less cost to go to the New York Rights Fair. So that would be a good one to maybe start with if that's what, if you're considering going to an international rights fair.
Also, you know, think about it. You know, I go to a lot of these rights fair and I'm staying between having a booth, except it costs me $10,000-$15,000. You know, so you got to figure out where you should be.
Right.
This means you can go to Bologna and just walk around, get a feel for it, but you're not going to get appointments. It's just a matter of educating yourself and how important rights is to your business.
Yeah, I do think that having that face-to-face with those companies that you work with is really important. So, you know, whether it's the PW Rights Fair or, you know, if you're doing children's books, Bologna, or, you know, if you just want one-stop shopping, maybe Frankfurt. But yeah, that face-to-face, and what's happened with us is over the years we've developed relationships with some of these publishers, like-minded publishers, so that we're sharing ideas. You know, they're saying, oh, do you have a book on this subject? And I'm going, wow, that's a great idea. I will next year. And then when I'm deciding about the book, you know, I'll think, oh, I know so-and-so's going to buy this. They're going to buy this. And so, you know, we kind of start to build those relationships.
Okay, last question, and then I know Esmeralda, you've got one too. It's a known fact that audiobooks are hot right now. Is there anything new on the horizon that publishers should be considering?
Serialization. A good portion, the younger people, just like we've gone to streaming audio, the people who are actually reading an episode at a time and consuming books almost more like you would consume the episodes of a TV season, that books are going to become binge watch things. Reading the whole book is sort of like binge watching a season of a TV show. And in the 18 to 24-year-olds, what we're seeing a whole lot of is pay to play, almost a gaming system where you get the first 3 chapters free and then you pay a coin or a credit or something for every chapter after that. The way it actually plays out is by the time we get to the end, they pay about the same thing they would for an ebook. But it's like in-app game purchases, right? For 59 cents, I can get through this gate or whatever it is. You know, it seems like a really, really small thing. They pay for their credits up front. So, you know, they bought $20 worth of credit, so it doesn't even feel like real money when whatever it is flying off the screen. And there's a lot of that, especially in younger people. The serialization on mobiles is going to be a big thing.
I also look at, you know, right now, artificial intelligence. Because you have, you know, I have Alexa in my house, and Alexa's looked up. You can read books, you can hear books on Alexa. Who has the right to do that? Right now, we talk about audiobooks and downloads, but there are all this new technology that's coming up that's going to have content. And, you know, maybe it's not now, but think about the future of where content's going. With Alexa and Google Home, there's tons of content there. You know, if they're using your content, should you pay for it?
Also, just so you know, Kevin, it's 3:40, just giving you a time check. Kevin may have to ditch out a little.
So my email address will be up there somewhere.
Does anybody have a question specifically?
Right, I gotta run before I send her home and so on. All right, well, you know, any questions about rights, any questions about the rights here, any questions about Publishers Weekly that can help you in your mission, so books or rights, I'm happy to answer by email. And I wish you guys good luck. And I try to apologize, but Trump is crazy over here. I have a conference call in the cab, so I
Thank you.
Right. These two will continue to talk though and answer questions.
Did you have something to say for the?
The one thing that I'm making sure that I'm going to get in my contracts is merchandising rights, because we do have a number of our titles that I started to think like, oh wow, this is for mugs or T-shirts or other things like that. And books have been bestsellers for a long time. There's a book called Outwitting Squirrels, which it's like you could start to use your imagination for all sorts of products for that. We sold about 1 million. Yeah, we sold about 1 million copies of it. So it's kind of like what else can you do with it? So yeah, different. You know, making sure that I just have these rights in our contract and be able to do that.
I have a question for you about that. Because this may be a difference in the market again. Fiction authors are becoming very, very protective of their rights. And so, you know, there are some times where it used to be an author looked at a contract and said, sure, here, you know, I want to work with you as a publisher and that's okay. But like merchandising rights, I can tell you right now, I would get anytime I start adding something in that's not typical, I get some real pushback with it. I could do that as an amendment very specifically.
Yeah.
You know, I could go back to a book that said such and such and say, I want to start a clothing line of third strings t-shirts or something like that. And that would be acceptable because I was being very concrete about it. But actually putting a standard contract in front of somebody that said I wanted merchandising rights, I would get a lot of pushback from that.
Discourage them from. Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think the first step is just kind of going one by one when you have these ideas. I mean, recently we were approached by a perfume company, for example, that wanted to do a perfume line off of, you know, inspired by our book. I thought, no, it wasn't all we know. It was pretty good at personal interest. Who's autobiography. And the perfume company is a Black Phoenix company.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And they were really so excited about Get Back to the Press, and they wanted to use it as inspiration for their perfume, and also do like gift items to go with it too. But we didn't have those rights, and in fact, the original publisher who was a reprint didn't have those rights. And so we found it really difficult to get them the rights to do this, but that would have been fun and great, and could have enhanced sales. So yeah, I think kind of if you don't have it in your contract, you could try adding it and then taking it out if someone questions it. That's one way. You know, it could be the easy strike out. You won't necessarily fight for it, which is kind of how we treat our first option clause. You know?
Yeah.
And then another one is to just go back one by one. Like we have a book called Afrofuturism, which we published about 5 years ago, 6 years, quite a while ago. But with Black Panther coming up, it just got a big pop, and it kind of came into its own, and we started selling a lot of it, and we're going to do new events with the authors and promotions, and we have some fantastic original artwork on that cover that was created by a friend of the authors just for our book. And I thought, wow, that would be great on a T-shirt or on a mug, and this could be really cool to like do some stuff. And we called him up and we said, hey, can we merchandise that artwork? He's like, sure, have fun with it. So we haven't done anything with it yet, but it's just different things to think about.
Nick, did you still have a question?
Yeah.
Here, let me.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Make sure we this is more of an author contract question and reading right? So I inherited a lot of older contracts that had very generous subsidiary right terms for the authors.
Oh, okay.
Very generous. So that has stopped a lot of other products from happening.
Sure.
Because the payout to the author was so big that we wouldn't make it. So my question is, what is typical, like if you're doing a royalty of 10% or something, what is typical for other rights? Is there like a set amount?
We usually, in our contract, this always in our contract, the set amount for rights splits is 50. That's kind of how we have it. And that works pretty well unless you're dealing with an agent, and then you might end up having to give away a little bit more. But you've got to know what percentage, and for audiobooks, you do 50-50 for translation, just about everything. And again, an agent, or maybe some authors will try to negotiate for a higher percentage. But you have to figure out what your number is where it doesn't make sense for you to do that. And for us, it's kind of like, 60-40, it still works for us, but we start to get into like the 70-30, it's like not really worth it for us to go out and spend the money on the agents and whatnot. So.
The big thing about the foreign rights piece is that you're always talking about what they're paying you. Your contract should be written, and that does help you with old contracts, but your contract should be written about what's coming to you. So you're never offering an author anything more than a split of what you already have. And so then it gives you a chance to be a little bit more generous, or and what you may do is say, if these are older contracts and somebody, that these people are still active in the field, or their family is or something, I would be honest with it. I would say, look, the industry has really changed. We'd like to push your book into these foreign markets, but this is what needs to happen for it. We would like to amend the original contract for just these clauses to be this, and then we will start to actively, that allows us to actively market your book. It's the same thing. It might be great that they have those terms on a contract, but unless it gets made, nobody's making it. So.
Yeah, so just being straight with them, those terms are just not, doable for you to go out and solicit those and sell those.
And I would just push it off on them. Things change.
Yeah.
The market has, it's not so much I just don't want to do this for you. It's just the market has changed, and this is what we need.
Do you have any?
I was wondering if you have any experience with infringements on your copyrights or trademarks that you might have, and how you handle it, and when you sort of look the other way.
Yeah. So we threw that in there.
I wasn't sure how that exactly fit.
No, we have a good attorney, so I would kick something over to him if it came up, but we haven't had any bad experience with that.
Not so much in terms of foreign stuff, although occasionally even that. The doing things outside of the borders of the United States is very, very difficult. And sometimes it's just simply not worth the effort. But in the country, honestly, DMCA works really, really well. If you just, the DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, is the protection, and all legitimate sellers, but it's the name of the act. And so what you do is, for instance, if you find out, and this has happened to us several times, where someone had, not just piracy, but where someone has actually taken an entire book, changed the names in it, put a different cover on it, and self-published it. And
In the US.
yes. You know, in the romance market, there's this feeling that there are so many books out there, how would they ever notice? In some cases, because some of our books are like two men, we'll change one of the men to a woman and put it out as MF romance. I mean, this has happened to us quite a bit, actually. And what has happened is in most cases where we've done it, all but 2 cases, it was self-pubbed. And so what we were able to do is target either Smashwords or Amazon, whatever the origin of the self-pub was. And we filed that's where the DMCA comes in. We filed the DMCA complaint. And they took care of getting it down, et cetera. And so
that was the way it was.
And so no. So I didn't even have to go through lawyers in that. Now, it has happened twice with other small presses where books have been largely extracted, and to the point that it was very noticeable, you know. And initially, I take things as business person to business person. If I don't have to take it to my lawyer, I don't. You know, and if you're dealing small press to small press, you know, if somebody contacts you and says, hey, look, I have this book, you have this book, here's a copy of my book digitally, take a look at this, we gotta use it. You know, and then you can, because sometimes it's a question. Sometimes it's does your author have a, you know, to figure out which one really was first. Sometimes it's really obvious, sometimes it's not so obvious. You know, we all remember, you know, how many movies come out simultaneously. You know, sometimes it's just similar. So I always start just business to business, but I keep track of everything I do. I do it by email. I don't, you know, if I get the next step then is to send a certified letter and involve lawyers and that kind of thing. Honestly, it's never had to get to that.
Nothing?
So if somebody was reading your book on YouTube, would you just like that, or would you say something about it? If somebody
Depends on
else,
how much of it they're reading.
that's the whole thing.
Oh, no, I take that down. YouTube, DMCA news. They actually have a button, DMCA reports.
That's really interesting. What's come up with us recently is there's a big YouTube celebrity who's taken one of our books. It's a project book called Many Weapons of Mass Destruction, and he's made the projects on his YouTube channel. And in that case, our author just wants credit because he hasn't credited the book. So
It's almost like a promotion for your book.
It's
Oh, no,
promotion.
it's promotion. I would entirely do it.
yeah. So, but that's what we're sort of. But you know, he got very nervous when we brought his attention to us, and so he wanted us to sign this big long contract. And I was like, no, I'm not going to, you know, because it gave him so many rights. And it was like, so we were kind of like negotiating back and forth what he legitimately has the right to do, and where he's overstepping his bounds. And so we're right in the middle of that.
Well, and that's kind of why I said how much you're going to be reading. You know, in many cases, you're much better off taking that as exposure.
Yeah.
But we get people who upload entire audiobooks to YouTube and put pretty little pictures with it, you know, and all sorts of things. That's piracy, and that needs to be reported at the MCA. And like I said, YouTube, I mean, these people are pretty good. It'll be done in 24 hours. Now, the problem is it may pop up again tomorrow because it's very easy to re-upload, to recreate another channel and re-upload it, and you can get seriously into chasing your tail. One of the nice things about YouTube is they do have an ability, and Scrib does as well, to actually upload your content, and then they have the artificial intelligence to scan new content that's being posted, and if it matches significantly, they won't let the person upload.
Do you have any other questions? If not, I think that we can call this a win. Thank you so much, Elizabeth and Cynthia. That was a lot of great information. And thank you all for being at the Publisher Summit. This is our last of the presentations. We now have a little final soiree.
Somebody said champagne.
I heard champagne as well. So back in the exhibit hall to just sort of celebrate another successful summit. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you. I don't know. What do you do to run up here?
Yes.
Oh, thanks.
Only for my own company. I mean, I have our logos and imprinting.
Yes, but I don't do anything.